Hello, everyone. This is William Cunningham of My Hope in Marriage. I hope you're doing well. My Hope in Marriage is online at www.myhopeinmarriage.com. And again, I'm William Cunningham, aka Reggie. Okay. The purpose of My Hope in Marriage is to provide resources and I guess a community. I'm trying to build a community, or I'm building a community to help mostly men in marriage. Right? Of course, a lot of the content applies to both men and women, of course, because it takes two to tango in a marriage. Both of you have to do work to make it work, as in like in anything else. All right. Now, today I want to talk about something that's very, very, I think, very, very critical because it's a lot of it going around, and that is, what can a man do? What can a Christian man do about a sexless marriage? What can he do about a sexless marriage? Okay. Now, Christian men are silently suffering in sexless marriage, and a lot of guys, Christian or not, a lot of men in general are silently suffering in a sexless marriage. Okay, so what do? Now, men, we go into marriage and we're contemplating being one with our wife. We're contemplating having a wife, okay? And just like the Bible says, the two shall be one flesh in Genesis 2:24. Okay, so we have this aspiration, this goal, this expectation of being one with our wife, being joined emotionally, physically, and even spiritually. We have that expectation. I don't think anybody goes into marriage thinking, "Oh, my marriage is going to suck." Okay, all right. So, but unfortunately, for many Christian husbands, that reality doesn't happen. That dream doesn't happen. Instead, they find that their marriage turns out to be perhaps the complete opposite of what they expected. And in the case of Christian men, this is exacerbated by the fact that they're going to hold to a particular faith. They're going to hold to a particular standard about marriage. For example, they're not quick to just go and do divorce. I've read on many a few forums over the years where guys are like, after so many months, if she's this, you got to go. All right. But our faith makes it compounds the effect of the sexless marriage in the sense that there's no, I guess, easy way to resolve it. Now, if I could control the mind and the will of somebody else, zap. But in reality, you can't. And therefore, you're going to find yourself stuck in that situation, in a sense, or not. That's it. Okay. All right. So we find that that dream of having this oneness, being joined to our wife, goes up in smoke, and we're routinely rejected. Christian men are routinely overlooked, refused. Their wives refuse sex to them. They refuse communication, even sometimes. And the only real time that they are called upon is when they want something. We provide a service. You know what I mean? Like I kid around. I said husbands are for lawn care and home maintenance. Okay? And this is totally unfortunate, and it really should not be. But Christian men deal with this, just like all guys who are married and have in a sexless marriage deal with this. But Christian men, some of the options that are just regularly available to someone who's a non-Christian is not lightly taken, or is not quickly taken by, like I said earlier, a Christian man, because we're going to avoid divorce. Okay, for the reasons of our faith, of the Christian faith. Okay, now, So in this article, I do have an article, a company article for this. If you want to go onto the website, you'll see it there, myhopeinmarriage.com. But in this video, I'm going to discuss that just as I do in the article. Matter of fact, I'm going down the outline of the article just to be consistent. But I want to talk about that because it's very serious. And of course, for the marriage, it's serious for the marriage, but it's even more serious for the guy because you can get caught up in that. It's easy to get caught up in the misery of your marriage and just let your life go by. You really can't let that happen. You have to do what you can to keep that from happening. Okay, your marriage may be in such and such situation and your wife doesn't seem to care. Okay, there's nothing you can do about that. You know, if she's not interested, she's not interested. And likewise, if any ladies are watching, if your husband is the one refusing you and rejecting you, you can't change him. You can't make him love you or want you or so forth and so on. All right. So it's important that we understand that and do what we can for our own good. All right. Now, the first thing I want to mention here is that sex is not an option. It's not some icing on the cake for marriage. It's critical. It's vital for the marriage. Because it is through sex that a man, of course, emotionally connects with his wife. And it's said that women want that emotional connection before they have sex. Either way, sex is very integral. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so prevalent in the Bible as far as adultery and so forth. All right, it wouldn't be such a big deal for two people who aren't married to have sex with each other. Because if it didn't matter, even in a spiritual sense, why would it matter if two people had sex and they're not married? But it does matter. It does matter because sex is more than just a physical act. All right. However, with that said, it's not an option. It's God's design. In Proverbs 5, 18, 19, it says, "Let your fountain be blessed and rejoice with the wife of your youth, as a loving deer and a graceful doe. Let her breast satisfy you at all times and always be enraptured with her love." You know, I joke with my wife about this and some other passages where it talks about her breasts and so forth, like pomegranates and it's just kind of funny. But the point here is this is normal. It's normative. It's God's design. Sex in marriage is God's design. Okay? And if you neglect it, you're doing your relationship a disservice. Okay? Now, Paul, the Apostle Paul mentions in 1 Corinthians chapter 7, he said, "Let the husbands render to his wife the affection due her, and likewise also the wife to her husband. The wife does not have authority over her body, her own body, but the husband does. And likewise, the husband does not have authority over his own body, but the wife does. Do not deprive one another except with consent for a time, and come together again so that Satan does not tempt you because of your lack of self-control." All right. So there you see the Apostle Paul letting us know that sex is a very important part. It's a critical, vital part of the marriage relationship. And without it, you could fall into temptation and so forth. A concept I call this the stumbling block in marriage, where you deprive your spouse of sex or affection and so forth, and they desire that, so they're tempted to get it from somebody else. All right. And it's even worse if somebody else actually actively pursues them. All right. So you've put that stumbling block in there for your relationship to fail. All right. For them to trip up. Okay. So it's important to realize that sex is not an option. It's not like marriage is this and sex is just like the icing on the cake. It's a vital part of the relationship. All right. Now, in a sexless marriage, it is said that a sexless marriage is a marriage where the couple don't have sex except they have sex 10 times a year or less. 10 times a year. Generally, it's said that a couple will have sex 2 to 3 times a week if they have a healthy relationship. Of course, barring any health concerns, medical situations where they can't have sex or it hurts to have sex or, so forth and so on. Of course, we're not talking about those situations. But even in those situations, you're going to find ways to express yourself to each other sexually. You're not just going to give up. You're going to do something, okay? All right, so now the cost of a sexless marriage is I think it's important for you to realize that there is a cost. Now, unfortunately, again, this message is for guys, Christian men who find themselves in a sexless marriage. You have to realize, which I'll get into a little later, you have to realize that your wife simply might not be interested in the us, in the one flesh. They might be interested in whatever they are interested in, and you're just providing a service. You may have to come to grips with that. There's no easy way to say it. I wish there were some magic pills, the 5-step to a beautiful marriage, but unfortunately you can't control the desires of your spouse. So if their heart is not in it, then it's not in it. And it's kind of a waste of time. Well, it is a waste of time and foolish for you to keep hoping for something that's not going to happen. We'll get into that a little later. All right, so the cost of a sexless marriage, there's a cost. All right. For example, low self-esteem. A guy will start to wonder if there's something wrong with him. Feelings of, that's why communications is so important. All right, he may have feelings of failure. He feels rejected, not just sexually, but as a man. What's wrong with me as a man? Emotional disconnection from his wife. He's going to be emotionally disconnected from her. And that's going to spawn a whole lot of other problems and issues. Right? Because his disconnection is going to get picked up unless she is totally apathetic, unless she really doesn't care if you're connected to her or not. All right. But sometimes the women just are ignorant, that the woman is ignorant of the situation. That's why communications is so important. But I know some of you guys are saying, well, I've talked to her. I've tried to talk to her. I told her over and over and over. Okay, right now we're past all that. It's assumed that you've done that. It's assumed that you've communicated. It's assumed that you've let her know how you feel, how it's hurting you, and blah, blah, blah. All right. So we're assuming that you did all that, but she's just totally clueless. She just continues to reject you, refuse, and so forth and so on. Okay. Now, the other cost of a sexless marriage, consequence, is resentment. Resentment is interesting because resentment destroys you. If you resent that person, that resentment eats at you. And of course, it destroys the relationship, whether it's marriage or friendship or whatever. So that unresolved resentment will gradually erode you. So it's important that you learn to forgive. Now, when I say forgive does not mean to overlook anything. It just means to release the resentment that you have for your wife for rejecting you for so long. And also, we're assuming that, we're not talking about your wife has rejected you for the last month. That may indicate that there's something wrong with her. And when I say wrong with her, she may be going through something. Something may be bothering her really, really bad. And she either doesn't know how to express it or she's not expressing it for whatever reason. So you have to keep that in mind. I'm talking about guys who've been married for years, maybe even decades. Okay? You don't resent. Get rid of that. Okay? Release that. It doesn't mean that you feel good about it, that you're going to go around the house happy, and joke with your wife. You may feel some way about your wife if she keeps rejecting you. And you may keep trying over and over again. And this time it's going to work. This time she's going to. And every time you're disappointed. The Bible says hope deferred makes the heart sick. Okay. All right. Another consequence is indifference. The guy will become numb to his wife. He's going to begin not to care about her feelings. Oh my goodness, when that happens, when now you don't care about her feelings and you already concluded that she doesn't care about yours because you've been telling her how you feel and she's done nothing about it. You try to talk to her and she's scrolling. You try to talk to her and she's clicking and she's watching TV or reading a book or whatever, or talking to her girlfriends on the phone or whatever, okay? Or going to church, okay? All right, you become indifferent, and when that happens, man, that's just, somebody just put grease on the ice while you're going downhill, okay? So now, another thing is decreased empathy and trust. You're going to really distance yourself. You're really gonna not care. And eventually you get to the point where you start to lose commitment for the actual marriage. This is where this leads to, because marriage is supposed to be about that oneness, and that oneness is solidified and even I dare say maintained by your sexual interaction. Now, I don't always mean intercourse. It could be just sexually, sensually, playing around with each other, being sensual with each other, being intimate and so forth. And of course, it could lead to sex. But I'm talking about you just don't care about that anymore. You don't care about her anymore. It gets really bad then, okay? So over time, the marriage becomes just a legal arrangement. You become, you know what I'm going to say, you become roommates. A marriage should not be roommate mode. Because if you're roommates, you're not really married in heart and spirit. Okay? You may get along, bills get paid, the kids eat and go to school, and they're all taken care of, the house might be taken care of, but you're not taking care of your marriage. You're not interacting with each other. All right? Okay. So, the consequences of a sexless marriage can be severe, because it eats at the very core of the relationship. A vital part of a marriage, a vital part of the marriage relationship is being neglected. Now you're going to start getting bitter. Man, you're going to start not liking your wife. You're going to start, of course, like I mentioned earlier, resenting her. Oh man, if you start hating her, when you look at her, you're like, that. And I know this is from a man's perspective, but vice versa for the ladies. You will look at your husband, that slobby, you're straight. All right? It goes both ways, but just again, I'm talking from a man's perspective because that's the perspective I know. I've lived this. I've experienced some of this, and I've researched, and I've been looking at this for over 30 years. Like, I've been married 37 years, and I started studying marriage 37 years ago because I realized, hey, I don't know how to be married. And you've heard me say that. If you've been watching my videos, you've heard me say that. Okay. So now, what can you do about it? As a Christian man, what can you do about it? That's the main thing, right? What can you do about it? All right, first thing, pray. Now, of course, I'm going to say if you're a Christian, you're going to pray. But you're not going to pray, God, change her. Change her. Make her want me. Tell her where she's wrong. No, you're just going to pray to God for wisdom, for understanding. You're going to pray to God for peace. and just allow him to work through the situations. Now, mind you, this is important. Even God will not change the will of a person. If your wife is truly not interested, you're going to eventually have to deal with that. Okay? Another thing that you can do is, for one thing, don't obsess over the problem. Don't focus on the fact that you're in a sexless marriage. I know that's hard to do. Okay? I know it's probably impossible to do, but you want to mitigate that. You want to minimize that rather, so that you're not obsessing over it, because it'll just take over your mind and you won't be able to function at an optimal level in anything that you do. Okay? Now, here's a very important thing. You have to accept what is. You have to accept it. You have to come to a point where you say, look, my marriage is sexless. I'm not getting anything from her. Or for the ladies, I'm not getting anything from him. That's just the way it is. But don't allow your mind to go, I'm going to get it from her. Oh, I'm going to get it from him. Johnny on the job, or Marcy on the job. Okay? No. You have to accept what is, because if you keep thinking that this night is going to be different, you're going to keep getting disappointed, and you may not realize it, or you may by now. That's just going to build up inside of you, and one day you're going to explode. You may explode in an angry outburst to your wife, or you may explode into the sin of your life. You might commit adultery. Okay? And you just open up a whole world of can of worms if you did that. Okay? All right. So stop hoping every night will be different. Stop hoping that today is going to be different. All right? Leave opportunity for that. Maybe she will read her books. Maybe a girlfriend will talk to her. Maybe she'll hear something that just lights her up, because there are a lot of enlightened women out there. Okay? Of course, another thing that you can do, of course, and I say this all the time, take care of yourself. You are responsible for your own happiness. You are responsible for your own fulfillment. So do that. Work at yourself. Make yourself do those things that give you pleasure, happiness, in an honest and moral and a godly way. All right? Okay, so take care of yourself. That's one thing you can do. Take care of yourself. Don't let your life center around the fact that she's not this or he's not that. Okay? All right. Of course, I says avoid resentment. You want to avoid resentment. That's very, very, very critical, because resentment will just destroy your relationship. It can do it all by itself. All right. Guys, especially for the guys, never, ever, never, never, never beg your wife for sex. You let that sink in a little bit there. I thought I heard an angel or something. Never beg your wife for sex, guys. If she don't want to give it to you, she's not going to give it to you. Unless you're willing to rape her, you're not going to get it. And don't rape her. I think I read an article where it says that's illegal in all 50 states. I think there was a time where it wasn't. All right. But never beg your wife for sex, because when you do that, it really, really hurts the relationship. So never beg your wife for sex, or your spouse for sex. It only deepens the, how you feel, the humiliation, like she has this power over you. Don't give anybody that kind of power over you. Don't let sex run your life anyway. I know, don't get me wrong. But you gotta come to grips with the way it is. And don't let it control your life. All right? Control stimulation. Watch what you look at. Don't arouse yourself, because it's not going to get quenched. Don't stare at Susie on the job. Now, gals, if any gals are watching this, let me tell you something. It doesn't matter if you have on baggy clothes. Men have X-ray eyes. We can see what's under that. We can, whether it's true or not, we can imagine what's under that. We can imagine. So, guys, don't stare at, don't lust after her, because that's just going to build up inside. And you know you're going to go home and there's going to be nothing for you. And all that pent up energy, where's it going to go? You better go downstairs and punch some walls. All right, so you got to control that stimulation. Guard what you watch, guard what you look at, guard what you see. And consider biblical grounds for separation. Now, of course, the Bible says that God hates divorce. Of course, he hates putting away. I read an article where there's a difference between a divorce and puts a wife away. And I'll get into that some other time. I got to do a little bit more research. But anyway, God intends for marriage to be the husband and wife are together until death separates them. Okay? Now, you have to, but you may come to a point where nothing's going to happen. You have to come to the point where you realize that it's not going to change. This is not what I signed up for. I've tried all I can over these past so many years, or some guys decades. It's not gonna change. We are not married. We haven't been married for a long time. She's abandoned the relationship, or in the case of the gals, he has abandoned the relationship. We have no marriage. And you want to look at moral ways to separate, to divorce. I know of Christians who have done this and have gone on to have what looks like to me anyway, a happy marriage. They have a progression, a successful marriage. All right, but that's unfortunately that's where it may go. If there's no other, if she doesn't want to play ball, so to speak, then guess what? Right? And you have to consider, you want to get counseling over a period of time, because she's probably banking on our court system, who appears to be biased towards women. Okay? All right. Now, if you stay well. That means build your life. Do what you can to build your life. All right? To build yourself up. Okay? You're going to ultimately answer to God. Your life should not be totally about your marriage. All right? If she doesn't want to be with you, then she's not with you. And if you want to stay, then just do well for yourself. There are lots of guys who, like say for the kids, they're not going to divorce. They're not going to pursue that because of the kids. All right? Okay. And understand you are not alone, guys. There are thousands of men, Christian men, silently suffering in a sexless, intimacy-less relationship. They are frustrated. They are angry. They are resentful. They are depressed. All right? And it's unfortunate because it shouldn't be that way. All right? All right, so just remember, you're not alone. You can contact me, pastor at pursuingthetruth.org, excuse me, Reggie at myhopeandmarriage.com, or pastor at pursuingthetruth.org. That's my Christian ministry website. And ask questions. If you want to talk, we can arrange that. So stay faithful, guard your heart, okay? Stay in control of yourself. Don't let yourself do anything stupid to make things even worse, all right? Now, the Bible says, delight yourself also in the Lord, and he shall give you the desires of your heart. Commit your way to the Lord. Trust also in him, and he shall bring it to pass. Bring what? the desires of your heart. All right, so it's important for you to take control of your life, regardless of the state of your marriage. Maybe it'll turn around. Maybe she'll get enlightened by somebody else. I joke with my wife. I tell her, well, women, they don't listen to men anyway. All right. So maybe she'll happen to hear a minister speak or some video and get her thinking, and who knows. But after years and years and years, you tend not to bank on that lottery system, if you will. All right. So, okay. So we know that sex is a responsibility, barring medical, but even then you work it out. It's still a responsibility and you just work it out, whatever the situation is. You want to be connected to your spouse spiritually, mentally. You want to be connected to them physically, all right, emotionally, especially emotionally in a marriage. You want to pray and ask God for wisdom, accept the reality of the situation, and deal with that. And remember, always pursue your dreams. Do what you want to do for you. If she's not with you, she's not with you. If she doesn't seem to care, well, you just go ahead and do what you got to do. Don't let your life be like a slavery for her, right? And vice versa. All right? Well, this is William Cunningham of My Hope in Marriage. You can visit us online at www.myhopeinmarriage.com. All right? Until the next time, you know what? Be blessed.